to Our Dinner is Done. My name is Sally.
I'm Jimmy.
If you've joined us before, welcome back. If you're new to our channel, welcome. A little background on us. We are two special education teachers. We are married. We just like to cook, and we would like to share some of our recipes with you, some of the things that we like to eat at home that are easy to make at home for yourself too.
Yeah.
So today, let's see, let me just check the chat, say hello to anybody who's joining us. I see.
Hola, Mark.
I see Mark.
What's up?
All right, I see some friends with us here. So today we are going to be making something that is both sweet and spicy. The other night we made some food, or Jimmy made the steamed clams that he made me the first time he cooked for me to kind of impress me, and which he did, obviously. And then this is a meal that I like to make to impress people, and you can do it really with any type of protein. Tonight we have some chicken thighs that we're going to use. Generally, sometimes we use chicken, or a lot of the time I even use shrimp, but we make a kind of sweet and spicy noodle, peanut noodle. And today we're using fettuccine. You could use a rice noodle, you could use linguine, you can use really whatever you have. Today we chose to use fettuccine. It's nice and like a thicker noodle. But you use some peanut butter that you have at home, some sweet chili sauce. We'll get going here and show you what we're going to do. So the first thing that we're going to do though is cut up some onions and some mini bell peppers. Because that's really like the base of the dish. And I'm going to get you some vegetable oil. You can take that out. So.
All right. What's up, Cup of Kiwi? I logged into Kiwi's account. I don't know what that means. All right, so we are going to start off with one medium to large onion, and then we have some more leftover mini peppers, and I didn't feel like it was quite enough, so I picked a pepper from our garden. It's a red pepper. It's still a little bit green, but that's going to work out just fine.
Oh, your mom is on Kiwi's account. That's who that is. Hi, Beth. Thanks for joining us. Glad you could chat with us today.
Well, that's hilarious.
But like you said, first things first, we're going to get some of these veggies diced up and sauteing in a wok. We usually use our wok for this dish just because it gives us some more room, and you can kind of toss everything together once you need to. And you said you're going to make some...
I'm going to do a slight detour off of this.
He decided to add this on.
So it's Friday, and it's a long day at school, and my lunch is at around 11 o'clock. So by the time I get home, I'm really hungry. So I wanted to eat something first. So we had some leftover shishito peppers, which are just small green Asian peppers. I think they're Japanese. So they're super simple to cook and super quick as well. So they are generally a mild pepper. Some are spicy. I like the spicy ones.
I always get
However,
the spicy
they end
ones.
up with salad. So we're going to cook those up real quick as a nice little snack while we cook the rest of our meal, just because they're an easy cook.
So I'll move this out of the way so you can do that.
So very easy to season. I'm going to cook them in a cast iron skillet just because they cook better and they get a little better browning on them. So I'm just going to add about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to take some fresh sea salt. We're just going to toss those. See if I can do this without dropping any. I'm going to heat up this pan.
Here we go.
I'm going to put it on medium-high heat with just a touch of olive oil because they're already coated. So I'll always coat things in olive oil whenever I'm seasoning them, because then whatever I season them with is going to stick. So we're going to let this heat up, and while that's heating, I can start working on the veggies.
Yes, chopping some of those up. I already have some water boiling here for the fettuccine, or it's starting to boil right now, so we're going to give that a couple more minutes to get boiling, and once we start cooking, we can add our pasta. We don't have to do that just yet. But we have, like we said, You could use regular bell peppers for this. I prefer red and yellow and orange bell peppers in this dish. I just think that they have a better flavor than green bell peppers. At home, we just happen to have these mini ones. You could just use a regular standard bell pepper too. We had a little pepper from our garden too, so this one's kind of teeny, but we can use it as well. Really, use how much you like. We like a lot of the peppers, so we use quite a bit of them. But if you're gonna just use one medium bell pepper, one red, one yellow, you can do that. You can do one red, one yellow, one orange. It really depends on your taste. But we have bell peppers, and we also have a medium to large sweet onion. And you're also gonna have some garlic as well.
Yeah.
But that we'll do towards the end, because like we said the other day, you don't want to burn your garlic.
No, we definitely do not. And like Sally was saying, I'd stay away from the green peppers unless you're cooking more like a peppers and onions for a cheesesteak, or you're cooking them down in a sauce. It's traditional in Latino cuisine that you're gonna have peppers, onions, and cilantro as your base, as your mirepoix.
Sofrito.
Sofrito, basically. It's the base of most Latino dishes. But the flavor can be a little bit bitter if you're eating those green peppers on their own. So stick to the red and yellow and orange peppers, which are just green peppers that have been left on the vine a little bit longer. They change color, but the flavor changes.
It's much sweeter.
Yeah.
Let me check on some questions and see if anybody has any questions for us. Let's see. Soul on Fire, thanks for rating us with your party of 11. Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Hello, hello.
Since you're joining us now, we are going to be making a sweet and spicy peanut noodle with chicken thighs tonight. So Jimmy is actually working on some shishito peppers as a snack because he's hungry.
I'm hungry now.
So we're going to snack on these. You can really hear that sizzle. You probably didn't hear me actually when he was doing that, but you can really hear that sizzle with these. They're going to blister up and they cook really quickly. So they're great.
Yeah, they're just seasoned with a little extra virgin olive oil and sea salt. That's all they need. I use a cast iron skillet for this just because they're going to cook a little bit better. We can even do a little lesson on how to clean your cast iron skillet.
Oh, we can talk about that as well, because with your cast iron, it is not typical soap and water in the sink like most of your other dishes, but we can talk about that a little bit later on. These are going to blister up. As you know, Jimmy's in charge of cutting and getting our vegetables ready. He just does a much more even cut than I do, so he's going to do that. I will keep an eye on these for now.
Yeah, because they're going to cook up pretty quick, so that way we have a nice little snack. So right now I'm just dicing up the onion. I'll go through how I did it on my second half. So what I've done is I've cut my onion in half, leaving the hairy end on one side. That looks so shiny. We'll figure that out one day.
Well, we have a ring light on there, so maybe we can turn that off when you're going to show something to the camera.
Zoom in. So once I've cut my onion in half, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to leave the hairy end, and then going across the onion, I'm going to have these little lines, basically the ridges of the onion. You can feel them. There's a texture to them if you were to run your fingers across it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slice along with those. And I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slices. And when I slice, I'm not going to slice all the way through to the hairy end because then my onion's going to fall apart. I want it to still be held together. After I do that, I'm just going to come back across. I'm doing a bigger dice in this case than we did the other night for those of you that were here. So I'm not going to do my slice across. If I wanted a finer dice, I would slice then coming across on the onion 2, even 3 times. But since this is a medium to large onion, I don't really need to do that, and I want to have slightly bigger pieces of onion. And then I'm just going to, using the claw, if you will, to keep the blade away from my fingers, so no matter what, I don't even have to look, I'm not going to cut my fingers. I haven't done that in a while. And then I'm just going to slice down thinly and evenly, just running the blade across my fingers. And my nails and my knuckles are there, so that way I do not cut myself. The good thing about cutting in this way is when you're done, you come to just the little hairy end at the very end, and you can even slice along the side there, and it just prevents you from wasting any onion, except for what fell onto the counter.
Yes. And you can actually potentially see, maybe not, but these shishitos now are already starting to blister a bit.
I just grab things from hot pans.
I constantly tell him not to do that. It scares me. He burns himself. But anyway, these are starting to blister. The skin is starting to open up. So as this is happening, I'm just giving these a turn so that they can kind of evenly blister all around. And as he said, these are generally pretty sweet. They have a little bit of heat to them. Occasionally you will find one that is really spicy, and I always tend to find that one myself. And I'm not the one who really likes spicy food. This dinner tonight that we're going to be making too, you're going to be able to control the heat level when we start making the noodles. Like I said, we use like this sweet chili sauce, and if you want it spicy, you're going to use quite a bit of that. If you want it a little less spicy, you kind of hold off. And you could even add some sriracha at the very end as well too.
Which we're about.
Yeah, which we do. We like to make the plate look pretty too.
Yeah, I see my mom says she loves shishito peppers, so I actually discovered shishito peppers at a restaurant in the city that I used to bartend at, 10-6, shout out to Craig Hudson. And they had shishito peppers as one of the apps. I'd never had it before. Beauty of working in a restaurant, you get to try all the food. And we tried them, I loved them, thought they were delicious. And they're super easy to cook as well.
Yeah.
You just need the pepper, oil, and salt.
Salt, pepper, and oil, exactly.
All right, so our onions are all chopped up. Let's start chopping up some peppers. So let's do the big bell pepper first. So there's a couple of ways that you can cut a bell pepper to get rid of the seeds. You could roll it, or you could do the Christmas tree. I think this is the Anne Burrell thing. Anne Burrell's the
Oh, wait a minute.
crazy blonde hair.
Wait, so you're saying, wait a minute, is it actually Babs or this is Kiwi? I'm a little bit confused. When I step away from the chat.
It's a joke. It says they still think Kiwi is bad.
Oh, okay.
That is amazing. Okay, I did believe it.
I did believe it too.
You John Freshly'd us.
He is a prankster, and he has pranked Babs before too. So
He does like to.
Listen, it's hard for us while we're cooking to kind of manage the chat too. We try to do our best to kind of pop over and see what you're saying, but we also don't want things to burn, and also don't want to lose our trains of thought. So.
All right, so we're gonna cut this pepper. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut off the stem and just a touch of the top, just to give me a little bit of a flatter surface. So now I can turn it upside down and it's not gonna roll away on me. That's the important thing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my knife, and you'll see the little dimple in the center, and I'm gonna cut around the dimple. And once you get into it, you'll see that you're gonna be able to cut along the white vein. You don't wanna have the white part or the seeds. It's just gonna, it adds like a little bit of a bitter taste. It's not as flavorful. You wanna have just pepper in your dishes. So now I'm just going to follow this cutting along, and you're almost going to end up with a Christmas tree, I like to think of seeds at the end.
He's like, why would Babs be on my account? we honestly thought that you were helping her out.
Maybe you were just helping my mom out. I don't know. Maybe you're being a nice guy.
Guess not. Guess not.
We are going to talk gamification this weekend. I've made some progress. All right, so now I'm just going to slice this pepper. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that my slices are of the same width. And that's so that you can ensure even cooking time. So my slices are about 1/4 of an inch thick. So I'm going to slice it all first. Again, using the same technique of the claw, just to keep the blade onto my knuckles and my nails there to prevent. I think these are ready.
Yeah, these look good to me. So, as I said, you're going to look at these, and they're going to be kind of brown around. Please don't do that. They're going to be brown and blistered and delicious. So we're going to give these a moment to kind of cool off before we can snack on them. But I will guarantee that I will probably end up getting the spicy one, just by luck of the draw.
I got it. I'm actually going to use the dish towel here. All right, so I'm going to set this aside. So this cast iron is going to be hot, even to the handle itself, so you want to be careful with that. So now we have our shishitos. You can garnish if you'd like with a little extra virgin olive oil over the top and just a touch of sea salt. The higher you go, the more widespread it gets. That's an ICAG thing. Iron Chef Alex Guanicelli.
Yes.
And now we have our plate of shishito peppers ready to snack on.
That we're gonna snack on. It's a nice little healthy snack as we cook. So as he's chopping the rest of the vegetables up, when we get our wok ready, we prefer to make this dish using vegetable oil instead of olive oil. Traditionally, we cook with a lot of olive oil in this house, but when we're doing more Asian style cooking, we're gonna use the vegetable oil. And I brought that out. I'm going to, thank you. I'm gonna put a little bit in our wok and start heating this up so that it's ready for the vegetables. As an aside, we're gonna cook our vegetables separately than our chicken. We just like to do it that way, kind of evenly distribute the cooking time for everything instead of overcooking the veggies. We like kind of cook them down first, put them aside once they're ready. Once they start to get a little bit softer, then we'll cook our chicken in here, and then we add everything together before we start making our sauce.
And I generally like to cut my vegetables I use the same knife for everything. Some people may have two knives. You could always wash your knife in between, but I'll always do the vegetables first. So that way, transferring a vegetable knife to chicken doesn't matter, but I never want to cut chicken and then go to veggies. You're going to get salmonella.
Yeah.
You're very sick.
You don't want to do that.
So with my peppers, I just lined up my little julienne sticks into just a rough chop of a dice. So all my peppers are about the same size. They're just smaller than a dime right now. With the little mini bell peppers, they're a little trickier to cut. You're not going to be able to get the clean of a cut, cutting right down the sides. It's a little trickier, and you're more likely to cut your fingers. So I'm going to be nice and delicate. With the mini bells, you just want to cut off the end, and you're going to end up with some kind of crescents at the end. And then those you can just line up and julienne them into 1/4 inch thick strips.
Glitter braids. You were just asking if we ever cook the meat first and then the veggies. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We do that all the time too. You can kind of get the meat flavor, and you get like the juicy bits on the bottom of the wok or the pan, whatever you're making. For sure we do that. For this recipe, I just tend to do the peppers and onions first, because the peppers, I like to get them pretty soft, and then the chicken cooks up pretty quickly. So just a matter of preference, but you could do it however you like. If you want the peppers to be a little bit crunchier, just do a little bit less cooking time. So I actually put some vegetable oil in here. And I'm going to put this on low heat for right now, get it started. And then we can add the veggies and give those a good stir. And then once we have these in the pan, we're going to start with our chicken, seasoning that up and getting that ready to go.
There might actually be more peppers than I thought. So I might not even need all these.
Yeah, actually we did take out quite a few, so this actually looks like a good amount already in comparison to the onions. I'm going to try one of these shishitos. I'm going to be brave.
She's going to end up with the spicy one.
And I'm going to end up with the spicy one, but I'm going to taste it anyway. This one is really, really nice and blistered, so I'm going to give that a try. You can eat the entire thing, minus the stem, and it's really tasty.
Spicy?
No, not spicy. That generally doesn't happen to me, but yummy. So simple. Put the stems right in here. Oh, you have one over there. Didn't see that. My bad. Okay, so we're ready to put our peppers and onions in and let those start cooking down.
We're just going to put them in at the same time. Since they are cut to the same size, they're going to cook at the same pace. I have my peppers and onions. I'd say it's probably about, curious, cup and a half. Let's see how much.
would say probably about a cup.
About a cup of each?
Mm-hmm.
I don't measure anything, so.
We never do, but we're trying to do that for you.
I'm trying to do this for recipe-wise. So it's about a cup, and it was about a cup of onion. So 1 cup of diced peppers and 1 cup of diced onion.
We like a lot of onion and pepper. Again, this is really up to your taste. So
if you don't love onion, do less than that. Do half of a medium onion.
And also, we didn't have them here today, but I have added shallots to this recipe. They give a nice flavor too.
And they're more mild for children.
Shout out to Sloan for that one. If you don't like onions so much, the shallots have a much more mild flavor, so you could use those as a substitution. Okay, we give these a nice little stir. Get these cooking. I'm going to raise the heat just a little bit on this.
I see Spy Big Booty Judy likes Walk This Way by Run DMC. Walk This Way.
I like it.
Words. I'm going to go ahead and guess that Kiwi had started that. I've actually met Rev Run quite a few times. He lives in this area, and a restaurant that I used to work at, he was a regular there, and he was just delightful. Super nice. Has that Run DMC style. He used to come in the wintertime in a full-on fur coat, the old school Kangol hat, Adidas pants, and Adidas on, and he's just awesome. Super nice guy. So it was always cool when he came in. And we even joked, so funny aside, I am actually an ordained minister. I have performed five weddings now. And when you get your online ordainship, you get to choose what your title is. So I chose Rev. So I'm known as Rev Junior or The Rev.
Yeah.
Which I thoroughly enjoy.
Side note, an interesting fact, since he had been ordained online and performed a bunch of weddings, we knew that that's a possibility to do that, and you can ask a friend or family member to marry you. And in our case, my brother Mark was the officiant at our wedding, and we were calling him the Pope. Weren't we? It was the Pope.
Yes, he went with
He was the Pope. And he did a beautiful job.
He did. We were thinking he was going to show up in the full Pope hat. Very Princess Bride-esque.
Yes, or maybe like Moira on
Malwich!
on Schitt's Creek.
We were serenaded with that exact Princess Bride by Chicky, one of my friends from college, one of my Buckeye buddies. The day before the wedding at the rehearsal, he went through the entire Princess Bride skit of Malwich, and he is amazing at impersonation. So
He's great at that.
It was spot on.
Okay, so these are starting to cook down. They're probably gonna take a little bit. I mean, they're small, so it won't take that long, but we'll give them a couple minutes here before we take them out and add our chicken. What do we see going on in the chat there? Our baby is chiming in as per usual at this time. I think he's a fan of the smell in here. It smells really good.
Tell the story about the shallots. All right, so Cup of Kiwi has also met Rev Ron, so he's seen him around. I think he's kind of frequent just around the area. He now does so Rev Run now does like cooking shows. I've seen him on Beat Bobby Flay. He has like a pool improvement show, so he's all over. But Mark asked us to tell the shallot story.
Oh, the shallot story. Okay. We have very lovely friends, Tom and Nicole, and they have 2 beautiful little babies. Well, not babies anymore. But when we are actually the godparents to one of their children, and when we were there a couple of years ago, their daughter, Sloan, loved the Food Network at that time, specifically Giada De Laurentiis, and she would watch her all the time, and she would quote episodes, and one day she told her mother while they were grocery shopping, hey, get shallots because they're more mild for children. And this is something that Giada
And that was coming out of them
she was
2-year-old, 2 or 3 years old.
I think she was like 3 years old at the time. So shallots are more mild for children, something that we learned from our friend Sloan.
So now whenever we see a shallot or when a recipe calls for a shallot, we always think of little Sloanie. So I'm going to dice up these 3 cloves of garlic. So we're going to take the cloves, and just like an onion, because they're in the same family, there'll be a hairy end, if you will. You'll notice that there's the end that's just slightly harder, and that's what's holding the whole clove of garlic together. So the same way that I did with the onion, just on a smaller version, I'm going to slice going across the onion, almost so that it would fan out. This is really tough to see. But I've sliced it going down, just like with the onion, and then I'm just going to come across on the perpendicular. So that way I'm going to get a nice dice of this garlic so that it will saute up very nicely.
Phoebe too, you mentioned Giada. We are big fans of her here too. We watch a lot of her show, and we've actually tried quite a few of her recipes. One of her recipes we'll definitely do on here, which is this really yummy toast with tomatoes and ricotta cheese and honey. Really, really good. Again, and that's another sweet and spicy dish that we've done for parties as like an appetizer or as like a side dish. So we'll definitely try doing that. And a side note. The people at the office where I go to the dentist always tell me I look like Giada. I don't really see it, but maybe some of you might think so. I don't know.
I'm housing Shishitos over here.
Oh yes, they are really, really good, by the way. Okay, so why don't you get started on that chicken? And as we were saying earlier, what's that?
Cup of Kiwi said, thanks for ruining Giada for me. Giada just turned 50.
Did you really?
Yeah.
She looks good.
Alright, so our peppers and onions are just about there. You can tell they're getting there because the onions are going to start to get pretty translucent and they smell wonderful. This is at the moment, I don't know if you can see the steam, but this is like the best moment of cooking. When onions start to cook down, the baby gets excited. When the onions start to cook down, they just smell wonderful. So once they start to change to that almost opaque color, that's when you know they're just about ready. And we're going to be able to throw in the garlic. I'm not going to cook them down too far because in this dish,
with the chicken again.
We'll add them with the chicken, and they're also nice to have them with a little bit of a crunch. And like Sally just said, since we're adding them with the chicken afterwards, they're going to cook down a little bit more. We don't want them to be soggy. So I'm going to add all the garlic at once. I'm going to toss it right into the center.
Excuse me.
And then just mix it around. So again, with garlic, you're only going to need it in there for a minute, maybe 2. And we'll just let that simmer.
As I was saying before, with the protein tonight, we're using chicken thighs. We prefer to use chicken thighs over breasts because we find them to be a little bit more flavorful. This is something that my grandmother actually, she made. It's really funny. It's a really funny story. So my abuelita, as I like to call her, my grandmother, is a wonderful cook.
Hello, Grandma.
She's a wonderful cook, and I would say maybe a couple months back, that's maybe been a year or so, probably longer than a couple months, we had some really delicious chicken thighs that she made. Excuse us, that was our dog Rigatoni in the background, scooting around on the carpet, making a whole bunch of
Not a
noise.
scoot, just her face. Usually it's her butt dragging across, but not that.
She's just rolling around on the floor. So anyway, we had these really, really yummy chicken. Excuse us, our dogs are going like bananas right now. We have our dog Riggy rolling on the carpet, and we have our dog Meeple, who's standing right next to our tripod over here, about to knock it over because he's licking his paws. But anyway, back to the story. My grandmother makes really delicious food, and she made a chicken stew using chicken thighs, and they were absolutely fabulous. And Jimmy tried some, and he said, "How did you make this chicken so flavorful? It was so delicious, so soft." Here's our Riggy girl. Pretty girl. And she told us she uses chicken thighs for everything. So we started using those, and today the ones that we have are boneless. That's what we usually prefer to use.
And skinless.
And skinless because it's just easier for prepping sake. But they're just a little meatier. meatier, a little bit tastier. These happen to be organic too. We try to have organic meat in the household. We don't eat a ton of meat. The only meat that we do eat is poultry, some chicken, some turkey, and fish. Really, we kind of got rid of.
Wash my hands, cup of kiwi.
we got rid of pork and beef in our diet a couple of years ago. So
I cheat a little bit.
sometimes he does, yeah. But tonight we're using chicken. But I've made this with shrimp, and it comes out awesome with shrimp. Really love it. And shrimp is so easy to cook. You kind of just season it up, toss it in at the end, and then mix everything together. It's really yummy.
All right, so we have our boneless, skinless chicken thighs. We're gonna take out here. We're gonna have to do a little prep work on these to get them ready to cook up. You could pull that off and put it into a plate.
The onions?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to set these aside because they are definitely where we want them to be. The onions are translucent and the peppers are starting to soften up. So I'm going to put this in a bowl. What's going in there? Nothing. I can use that one. That's why I took that out. So we're going to put these in here for now. And once he dices up the chicken, I'll add a little bit more of the vegetable oil to cook this in.
Yeah. So I saw a couple of questions in the chat about who is your favorite Iron Chef?
Oh, Alex, ICAG.
Alex Guanicelli.
Barticelli, yeah, she's awesome.
She's amazing. Michael Simon is an Iron Chef. I like him.
He's really great.
He's an OHIO. He's an Ohio guy out of Cleveland. I think he's got this ridiculous laugh, which makes him very endearing.
Somebody also has
show.
a ridiculous laugh.
Yeah,
ask my brothers about that one.
It's very Tom Cruise on Oprah's couch.
Yeah.
That's my laugh when I get going. I saw that Cup of Kiwi has a personal vendetta against Bobby Flay.
Oh, we love Bobby in this house.
I'm not really sure. We watched like 4 episodes of Beat Bobby Flay last night.
We watch him all. We watch the show all the time. I do have to say though, it kind of upsets me that he wins like pretty much all the time. It's very rare to watch an episode where somebody beats him. We watched an episode yesterday where a person, where he beat the person making ramen, something that he never ever made, and he put grilled chicken in it, which is something that you just don't see. But to each their own. I think he does cook really some really good things on that show though.
Oh, Spooky Bean said it seems like Kiwi has a personal vendetta against everyone. Very possible.
Very true. That's probably very true.
And as a 6'7" man, I thought you were at least pushing, 7'4", like Andre the Giant-esque. Just drinking cases of beer as an appetizer. It's a great HBO documentary, Andre the Giant. I think I made you watch that.
Yeah, we watched that. It was so sad.
Very sad. You see Andre the Giant in a totally different light. Yeah, it was really sad. He had a very hard life. Because he was a giant, giantism is quite painful and all that he went through.
He had a lot of health issues because of it.
Yeah, and they showed him on The Princess Bride and how ill he was on all that and how he just kind of pushed through. Also talked about how they were all afraid of the giant, especially Macho Man. That's one of my favorite WWF before it became the E wrestlers. All right, so right now with the chicken thighs, I am just cutting off a little bit of the fat or the skin, just because there's plenty of marbling, if you will. It's more of a steak term, but there's plenty of fat going throughout. That's why chicken thighs taste better. It's the darker meat. They're going to hold flavor a little bit more, and they're just going to taste better. I mean, if you are going healthy, by all means, you could use a chicken breast.
Totally.
Just be careful. Chicken breast, you turn your head, and it's overcooked. So that's why I feel like cooking shows, it's like the kiss of death, chicken breast. Chicken thighs are far more forgiving.
Definitely.
Before you, quote unquote, hammer the chicken.
Oh, I took you a
Somebody's having a blast over there. Hey!
He's actually, it sounds like he's not having a good time, but he is having a good time. He's playing with one of his toys. He's starting to talk a little bit, starting to babble a lot, so that's what you're hearing in the background.
He's trying to say cup of kiwi, not 6'7". All right, so these thighs are good to go as far as cutting off the excess fat and skin. Whoa! And now I'm going to start dicing them up. Oh, another thing to look for when you're cutting chicken, there's going to be the flat side, but the bone inside, you kind of want to just run your fingers around. It sounds kind of gross. This is why I do this, Sally doesn't like it. You might find some bits of bone or cartilage, which I'd rather have... Oh, you might have to pick them up.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't sound so happy anymore.
So you might find some bits of bone or cartilage that you can cut out at this point, because biting into that is just gross. So I'm just going to kind of feel around to make sure there is no bits of bone or cartilage that are going to be nasty to bite into. Cool. Good to go?
Yep.
You got it? And now I'm going to start dicing. So I'm just going to slice the chicken. So I'm going to take the chicken long ways, and I'm going to slice against that grain. Just slicing it into a couple of strips at about 1/2 inch thick. So they're into 1/2 inch thick strips, and then I'm just going to cut those in half. So I'm going to end up with about 1 inch by 1/2 inch pieces. And again, the same as with the vegetables, you want to make sure that your pieces are uniform. Otherwise, they're going to cook at different durations, and you'll have some that are undercooked and some that are overcooked. So I'm going to get a little OCD and line them all up nicely. And Sally's going to check out the chat and entertain the baby.
Yes, once that chicken is all seasoned up and ready to go and we put it into the wok, then I will add the pasta. Since the pasta doesn't take that long, we don't really want the pasta sitting around and getting super soft. So we'll put that in just a moment. The water's already boiling. I'll add some salt to it before we toss that in. And we're just gonna season up the chicken to, even though we're gonna be putting this all in a really yummy sauce, you're gonna want to give some seasoning to the chicken prior to putting it all in. So that,
Always a little salt and pepper.
yeah, you just want to make sure that that's kind of got its own flavor going on too. Okay. All right. So this is actually gonna be probably quite a bit. There's a lot of
Yeah,
chicken
I
in
didn't
there.
actually look. Let's see what we got here.
I thought this was a pound, but we do a lot of online shopping now, so it might be
1.35 pounds.
Okay, so this is going to be pretty big.
Just
this
over 1
dish.
1/4. So there's going to be a nice amount of chicken in there, which
But
is fine.
Yeah, but I have
Not
to
a
say
bad
though,
thing.
it's pretty good because when we make this, it's embarrassing to say this, but generally when we make this, we could eat the whole thing in one night because it is one of those dishes that when you make it, it's really yummy and you just keep going back for more, and you put it on the plate in like a little dainty plate at first. And you're like, oh, this looks really nice, and then you eat it, and then you go back 4 or 5 times and you realize, oh my gosh, we ate the entire thing. So tonight we'll probably have leftovers, which is nice. Oh yeah, please. So I noticed that you said we have to use the metric system in terms of our measurements on here. I noticed that some of our viewers are from all around. So
Yeah, could you actually let us know
Yeah,
where you're from?
where you're
I'm
from.
very curious. So we're in the States.
Yes, we're in the States. We're on the East Coast.
Where we don't use the metric system, which would make life so much easier. So last year I taught middle school math, and we would use, you have to teach the kids both. So you teach them the metric system, and you teach them US standard. And all the kids consistently, every time I've ever taught this in elementary school all the way up to middle school, they're always like, why don't we use the metric system? It's so much easier. I don't know why, but it is easier. Everything calculates much easier. Like we have a little cheat sheet back there as far as
On our fridge.
what's a quart to a pint, how many ounces in a quart, how many ounces in a pound. like none of it makes sense. It's not mathematically easy. Everything has a different amount. Like how many feet in a mile? What is it? 1,280.
Please don't ask me
I
this
think it's
stuff
1,286. I feel like Mark would know that. I feel like as a teacher I should know.
Yes. Well, I have mom brain all the time now, so I can't formulate that thought right now.
All right, I got my chicken
Chicken looks
all sliced up.
He's gonna wash his hands now and his knife before we get started. And like I said, before we put this chicken in, we're gonna add some more vegetable oil to the wok so that we can get this cooking because everything's pretty much dried up in here from earlier. And then once that chicken gets in here, I'll add some salt to our water for the pasta and we'll throw in our pasta. And while all of that's cooking, then we'll get started on our sauce. But again, since we don't do a whole lot of measuring, and this is actually much bigger than we generally make it, we're gonna be kind of just winging it a little bit when it comes to making the sauce. And but, you know, when you make this at home, you're gonna understand like what the ratio is just based on your taste. If you want it really spicy, if you want it really sweet.
We do have a measuring cup which has cups and ounces, and it also has the metric system, milliliters. So we'll be able to do a little both. And I see that Glitter Braids is from England, which is awesome. Do love England. And recently, Sally's mom got us a couple of years ago the Ancestry.
Oh yeah.
And I found out, I thought I was Italian, Irish, and German. It updates. So I'm actually mostly English, then Scottish, then Italian, then Irish, just a wee bit German.
Actually, I got an alert today saying that my DNA results actually became a little bit more specific, but I didn't have a chance to check it, so I don't know. Maybe my brother knows. Maybe he read his. But I was a lot of Italian and a lot of Spain and Puerto Rico and all sorts of things. Mine was all over the map, to be perfectly honest.
Mine was not. Very Anglo-Saxon. So I just added about 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. I'm going to let that just heat up a bit. Again, you know your oil's heated up when it is just moving smoothly throughout the wok in this case. It's going to heat up a little bit quicker because we had cooked in this earlier. So I am just going to slide these in. I'm going to have to wash my hands again.
Yes, and I'm going to stand back because I don't want any splatter with the baby.
Get those in. I'm going to wash my hands again, cup of kiwi.
If you're wondering, I kind of keep the baby off to the side. I don't want him to be by the stove and everything, and I don't think he's really ready to be on camera just yet.
Alright, so I'm going to get rid of anything that chicken might have touched.